dynamically propagate through the area, causing damage to the environment and the player. And at this point, the player needs to limit the damage, of course, by extinguishing the fire in any way that they can. So in doing so, they're going to need to wear protective clothing to protect them from extreme heat. They're going to need to wear a closed helmet to protect them from smoke inhalation, poor oxygen levels. And there's actually multiple ways the fire can be extinguished, including the removal of heat. For example, using a fire extinguisher, which is my personal favourite, it's a lot of fun doing that. The removal of oxygen, for example, locking off the area, condensing the oxygen, creating a vacuum. Or simply, the fire's burned so fiercely that it's done everything it needed to do, there's nothing left for it to destroy. And if you let it get this bad, it's probably time to consider repairing your ship.
Okay, so how do we achieve this from a technical perspective? Well, firstly, the artisans like to do is they mark up their scene to tell us what physical properties that each surface is made from, whether it's wood or metal. But not only on the surface, we have to describe what is behind the surface. You might see a metal panel on your spaceship, but has it got cladding or wiring behind it? It's important we know all this so we know how flammable it is. Then after this, we have to define all the physical properties that go with these surfaces. So, for example, the masses, energy density, combustion temperature, fuel ratio. And we use all these physical properties and we sum them up in each voxel, which is a 1 by 1 meter cube. And then once we have these voxels, this forms the basis of our simulation. So then first thing we do is we look for sources of ignition and then we're off. So here's our debug mode that shows us what's going on in the simulation. It's what we use to track it. And you can see these squares and margins to show us where the fire is spreading. For each of these voxels, we're tracking the fire, the temperature, fuel remaining, the amount of smoke, and the fire is propagated via convection and radiation, which are both accurately simulated. And it's consuming the gases and producing the knock-on products as well as it goes. And because we're using a proper simulation, like Mike mentioned, when you vent a room, not only are you removing the oxygen and putting the fire out, but if the temperature remains the same, if oxygen is reintroduced, the fire will reignite and it will continue burning, just like it would in real life.
That's why they do this 1 meter.
What's next to this? So our focus has been on interiors, in particular spaceships, but all interior spaces really, and this voxel grid really helps us solve that problem. Our next focus is going to be on planets. Whilst today represents a slightly different challenge, the vastness of them. We have to transfer this over the network and simulate this slightly differently, and we also have to render it at scale. But the way we've done it, the core tech that we've used, we should be able to scale this up quite easily. So that's going to be our next focus.
Okay, so how do we create realistic dynamic fire visuals in Star Engine? Well, we start with the simulation, as just described by Ali, and this gives us the data we need to drive the visuals. Then we bring in the burn shader. So this can be applied to static environments. We have a lightweight version of the shader for entities, which is kind of based on the dirt shader work. Then we've got the glow, which is an animated surface decal shader for static environments. This is where we start to bring in some nice motion. And then we bring in the PV particles, which are spawning from voxels in the screen space. Obviously, these are doing a lot of the work visually. Then we bring in the lights. These are spawned from clusters of voxels as opposed to per voxel. It's an optimization. A cluster being a representation of voxels close to each other. And then we bring in the fog. So this is height-laid volumetric fog. The smoke fills the room and it goes up to the ceiling before filling the rest. We're simulating that. So to finish, we're going to take a look at all of that put together in the game. Thank you.